You've heard of Napoleon, Churchill, and Patton, but what if I told you? The most fearless warriors weren't always men. When history talks about war heroes, it rarely talks about the women who have defied empires, saved lives, fired back, and in many cases, died for what they believed in. One disguised herself as a man to fight in the trenches, one smiled while being hunted by the Gestapo, another held a rifle, and 309 bodies fell. And yet, most people don't know their names, until now. In this video, we reveal the stories of 5 extraordinary women, discover the fearless Serbian soldier, a spy known as the White Mouse, the sniper who terrified the Nazis, and others. These aren't legends, they were real, and they rewrote the rules of war. Milunka Savić. Before Mulan drew a sword to fight in her father's place on the silver screen, there was Milunka Savić, a warrior who did it for real, in the mud and fire of war. In 1912, when her brother was drafted to fight in the Balkan Wars, Milunka made a bold decision. She cut her hair, disguised herself as a man, and enlisted in the Serbian army using his name. Just like Mulan, she trained, marched, and fought alongside men, undetected. But unlike the Disney legend, Milunka didn't get discovered by accident. She was seriously wounded in battle, and when medics treated her injuries, her secret was revealed. But instead of being punished or discharged, her commanding officer gave her a choice. Do you want to keep fighting? And she did. Oh, did she ever. Milunka returned to the front and became a force of nature. She fought in over 10 major battles, often volunteering for the most dangerous missions. Her bravery earned her international recognition from Serbia, France, Russia, and the United Kingdom. She received the French Croix de Guerre twice, the Order of St. George from Russia, and Serbia's highest military honor, the Order of the Star of Karađorđe, with swords. But unlike Mulan, who returned home to praise and recognition, Milunka came home to silence. She lived the rest of her life in modesty, working as a postal worker and nurse, raising her adopted children alone. No statues, no ceremonies, just her legacy, hidden in history. Today, she is remembered not only as the most decorated female combatant in history, but also as a mighty woman who redefined courage. Nancy Wake. In Nazi-occupied France, the Gestapo had a name on their most wanted list. They called her the White Mouse, because no matter how many traps they set, she always got away. Her real name was Nancy Wake. Born in New Zealand and raised in Australia, she started as a journalist in Paris. But when she witnessed the rise of fascism firsthand, she didn't report the story. She became part of it. Nancy joined the French resistance, running escape routes for Allied soldiers and Jewish families. She was cunning, charismatic, and completely fearless, and the Nazis hated her for it, placing a 5 million franc bounty on her head. When her network was compromised, Nancy fled to Britain, trained with the Special Operations Executive, and parachuted back into France, behind enemy lines. There, she led thousands of maquisards, French resistance fighters, coordinated sabotage missions, and disrupted Nazi supply lines before the D-Day invasion. She didn't just resist, she commanded. She led ambushes, organized weapon drops, and once even killed a German sentry with her bare hands to protect a mission. When asked about it later, she simply said, "They'd taught us this trick with a knife, but it was too noisy." Her philosophy? Freedom is the only thing worth living for. And she lived and fought, like every moment counted. After the war, Nancy Wake was awarded the George Medal, Medal of Freedom, Legion of Honor, and multiple other decorations from Allied nations. Yet, her name is still missing from many history textbooks. But make no mistake, Nancy Wake didn't just fight the Nazis, she humiliated them. And she did it while wearing red lipstick and heels in between missions. Lyudmila Pavlichenko. In the darkest days of World War II, while cities burned and armies collapsed under Nazi firepower, one woman became a legend with a rifle. Her name was Lyudmila Pavlichenko, but the world came to know her as Lady Death, not because she wanted to be feared, but because she was unstoppable. Born in Ukraine in 1916, Lyudmila was a brilliant student with a sharp mind, and even sharper aim. When the Nazis invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, she was 24 years old and already trained as a sniper. Most women were expected to serve as nurses, cooks, or factory workers. But Lyudmila demanded to be on the front lines, with a Mosin Nagant rifle in her hands. The military was skeptical, so she proved herself, with 309 confirmed kills, including 36 enemy snipers. She fought in Sevastopol, Odessa, and other brutal battlegrounds where survival was rare. Wounded multiple times, she never backed down. Her mission wasn't vengeance, it was defense. But her story didn't end at the trigger. In 1942, she was sent to the United States and Canada on a diplomatic tour. The goal? Convince the Allies to open a second front. But instead of being respected as a war hero, American reporters asked her if she wore makeup at the front, or if she could smile more. Her answer silenced them. "I am 25 years old and I have killed 309 fascist invaders. Do you not think, gentlemen, that you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" That moment made headlines and made history. Lyudmila became the first Soviet citizen received by the US president, met Eleanor Roosevelt, and ignited global attention toward women in combat. After the war, she never bragged. She trained future snipers. She worked as a historian. But she never asked for glory, only remembrance. She didn't fight because she hated what was in front of her. She fought because she loved what was behind her. If these stories move you, hit the like button, subscribe for more untold women's stories, and drop a comment with the woman who inspired you the most so far. Let's make sure they're never forgotten. Sophie Scholl. Not all war heroes carry rifles. Some fight with nothing but a leaflet and the truth. In Nazi Germany, Sophie Scholl was a 21-year-old university student, full of questions, conviction, and the kind of courage that shakes regimes. Alongside her brother Hans and a group of fellow students and professors, Sophie became part of the White Rose, a non-violent resistance group that exposed the crimes of Hitler's regime. They didn't plan assassinations or bombings. They used words, flyers, ideas. In 1943, Sophie and Hans walked into the atrium of the University of Munich with a suitcase full of anti-Nazi leaflets. They left them stacked in hallways and on windowsills. And just as Sophie turned to toss the last handful from a balcony, a janitor saw her. The siblings were arrested, interrogated, and tried for treason, all in just 4 days. At her trial, Sophie did not beg for mercy. She said, "Somebody had to make a start. What we said and wrote is what many people are thinking. They just don't dare say it out loud." Hours later, she was executed by guillotine. Her final words? "Such a fine, sunny day, and I have to go. But what does my death matter? If through us thousands of people are awakened and stirred to action." Sophie Scholl didn't fight with guns. She fought with truth, conscience, and a heart too brave to stay silent. In a world drowning in fear and propaganda, she dared to think and speak for herself. Today, she is remembered across Germany as a national symbol of moral resistance. Her legacy lives in statues, stamps, schools, and the hearts of every generation who believes one voice can change everything. Noor Inayat Khan. She was a poet, a dreamer, a princess by blood, and she became one of the most unlikely heroes of World War II. Noor Inayat Khan was born in Moscow in 1914 to an Indian Sufi musician father and an American mother. She was raised with teachings of nonviolence, compassion, and truth. But when the Nazis marched across Europe, Noor made a choice that would define her life. She joined Britain's Special Operations Executive, an elite group of undercover agents trained to operate behind enemy lines. Despite her gentle spirit and soft voice, she trained in weapons, radio operations, and sabotage. Fluent in French, she was dropped into occupied Paris in 1943, becoming the first female wireless operator sent into France, the most dangerous job in the field. Her life expectancy? 2 to 6 weeks. She lasted 3 months, evading Nazi capture while transmitting encrypted messages, coordinating drops, and moving constantly to avoid detection. Eventually, Noor was betrayed. Captured by the Gestapo, she refused to give up a single name or code, Even under brutal interrogation, she escaped once, but was recaptured. Beaten, starved, kept in solitary confinement. Still, she said nothing. In September 1944, she was transferred to Dachau concentration camp. There, at dawn, she was executed with a bullet to the back of the head. Her last word was reportedly, "Liberté." Noor was posthumously awarded the George Cross, the Croix de Guerre, and the Medal of Freedom. And yet, for decades, her story was barely known. A British spy, an Indian princess, a Muslim woman. Her courage didn't come from violence. It came from conviction. She wasn't just a resistance fighter. She was a light in one of history's darkest moments. These weren't just women caught in the chaos of war. They were leaders, resistors, snipers, spies, and voices of conscience. Each of them stood against fear, against violence, and against silence. And they didn't just survive history, they shaped it. They are called mighty women because they carried burdens that entire nations couldn't bear. They risked everything, not for medals or fame, but for freedom, truth, and the future of others. If their stories inspired you, share this video, subscribe, and amplify their legacy. Let's rewrite the history books, one untold story at a time.